Senate Bill 543 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to veterans and making appropriation therefore.
Senator Wolk.
Thank you, Mr. President. 543 would establish a statewide Veterans Home Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Fund and will require the administrator at each home to deposit locally maintained funds in the new fund by January 1st next year. The building also maintains the current limitations on the MWR fund expenditures, ensuring that the funds are spent on functions and activities that are directly related to the recreation, morale, and welfare of the residents. We continue to meet with the department and the residents from all 8 homes throughout the state to create a workable solution that provides CDVA with oversight and accountability that they are seeking, while also ensuring that the residents have a voice in the rules and regulations promulgated by the department and the local control over the administration of funds. 543 has received bipartisan support, has no opposition. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Wolk. Members, any debate or discussion? Senator Morlock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a question for the author. It appears that we're putting the money together.
Senator Wolk, will you accept the question?
I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Yes, Senator Morlock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize. It appears that we're putting all the money together to be efficient and do good accounting, but it also appears that once the funds are deposited, that they're not really being segregated from where they came, that they're all being commingled and then will be distributed equally amongst the homes. And I'm just curious, is that what, am I reading that correctly?
No, they will not be distributed equally, and that's part of what has to be determined. The homes are very different sizes and types throughout the state. There are 8 different ones, and that's why we've convened them all, and we're working with the department to make sure we come up with a proper result.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Morlock. Any further debate or discussion? Seeing none, Senator Wolk, would you like the close?
I ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Cannella. Aye. DeLeon. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines.
Aye.
Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wessel. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Leno. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. No. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Stone. Aye. Vidak. No. Wykowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Bates. Wesso. Lada. Leno. Nielsen. Runner.
Ayes 30.
Wesso, aye.
Ayes 31, noes 4. Measure passes. File item 125. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 551 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to water.
Senator Wolk.
Thank you, Mr. President. 551 would establish a new state policy ensuring that all future state policies, regulations, and guidelines are developed in a manner that ensures water use will be as energy efficient as possible, and energy use and generation is as water efficient as possible. In the past, energy and water systems that serve California have been developed and managed independently for the most part. 551 simply requires state agencies to consciously consider the connected nature of water and energy in the stewardship of these 2 vital resources. Both of these must be managed as efficiently as possible to ensure that we avoid future water and energy crises. I ask for your aye vote. This also had bipartisan support and no opposition. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Wolk. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Cannella. DeLeon. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. Galgiani. Glazer. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Weso. Huff. No. Jackson. I. Lada. Leno. Leyva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. I. Nilsson. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. No. Stone. I. Vidak. No. Wykowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Berryhill. Block. I. Canella. Gaines. Galgioni. Glazer. I. Hernandez. I. Weso. I. Lada. Leno. Nielsen.
Ayes 25, noes 8. Measure passes. Members, let's move to file item 126. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 552 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to water.
Senator Wolk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Some of our communities, as you all know, still lack the most basic public service, which is access to safe, drinkable water. Hundreds of thousands of Californians are still without affordable drinking water. In times of scarcity, such as the current drought, thousands of California's vulnerable communities have no reliable water source at all. 552 will ensure that we comprehensively address the remaining obstacles to safe and affordable water for all Californians by tasking the State Water Resources Control Board to identify the sources of funding and the remaining regulatory and management tools that are necessary to resolve these ongoing challenges and remove the barriers to providing public service, publicly accessible and safe drinking water to lots of communities that do not have access to it right now. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Wolk. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. Bates. Anderson, no. Bates. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. No. Gaines.
Aye.
I. Galgioni. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Weso. Huff. Jackson. I. Lada. Leno. Leyva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. I. Nilsson. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. Stone. No. Vidak. I. Wykowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Bates. Weso. I. Huff. Lada. Leno. Nielsen. Runner.
Ayes 29, noes 5. Measure passes. Great. Members, we're going to go to file item 127 and then jump to file item 131. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 555 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to water.
Thank you, Mr. President. 555 will require the urban retail water suppliers to submit an annual water loss audit report to the State Department of Water Resources beginning in 2017. It would also require DWR and the State Water Resources Control Board to establish rules related to the water loss audits and establish water loss performance standards. A study in 2010 by the CPUC found that 10% of urban water, 870,000 acre-feet, is lost to leaks and that 40% of that water could be cost-effectively recovered through pressure management, leak repair, and targeted pipe replacement. Given the drought we're facing today, it seems to me that this is a very expeditious way of coming up with cost-effective measures to reduce the water loss in the current distribution system. It's supported by by the San Diego County Water Authority, Sonoma County Water Authority, Sierra Club, Natural Resources Defense Council. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Wolk. Any debate or discussion? Members, was there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none. Oh, there is an objection, excuse me. Let's please take a roll call vote.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines.
Aye.
Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Weso. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Lada. Leno. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk.
Aye.
Wolk, aye.
Secretary, call the absent members.
Weso. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Leno. Nielsen. Runner.
Ayes 33, noes 2. Measure passes. We're now going to move to file item 131. Senator De Leon. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 588 by Senator De Leon, an act relating to employment.
Senator De Leon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 588 gives California's Labor Commissioner additional tools to help fight the problem of wage theft in our state. A recent UCLA study found that in Los Angeles County alone, workers have more than $1 billion worth of wages stolen from them each year. It's not 10 million nor 100 million. It is $1 billion with a capital B that are stolen from hardworking families on an annual basis, just in LA County alone. Wage theft takes many forms, including stealing workers' wages by paying them less than the minimum wage, by shaving off hours from workers' paychecks, or simply failing to pay them the overtime that they worked. In a study prepared by U.S. Department of Labor, DOL, it was estimated that there were 372,000 weekly minimum wage violations. That is a national statistic. Existing labor laws are simply not effective as they could be. In another study by UCLA, the National Employment Law Project, the data show that 83% of workers who win, 83% of workers who actually win a wage claim never see a dime. SB 588 targets the bad actor employers with stronger enforcement options by requiring businesses that has not paid or made arrangements to pay an outstanding, and let me underscore, an outstanding judgment against them. They have to do so within 10 days. You don't do so within 10 days, obviously you're required to secure a bond. Then only if the business still fails to comply, the employer is subject to a stop order and a lien at the Labor Commissioner's discretion. Now, interestingly, colleagues, you may notice so far there's no opposition to this measure. In fact, the California Chamber of Commerce does not oppose this measure. We have been working in good faith with all actors on this measure. Now, again, the prevalence of wage theft in our state is not in dispute at all whatsoever. The question is the collection, the methods by doing so in a manner that brings about justice and actually allows these workers to collect the money. The reality is when that money is not collected, our economy suffers because of it, because these individuals do not have the money in their pocket to reinvest back into the economy, to pay for the rent, to pay for the food, to pay for the children's clothes and books. I have worked again with the employer as well as the employee representatives in crafting this measure. It has been very constructive, and I will give the chamber quite amount of accolades also. We will continue these discussions in good faith. This bill has no opposition to this measure. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Great. Thank you, Senator De Leon. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. No. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines.
No.
No. Galcioni. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Hill. Aye. Weso. Aye. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Leno. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wykowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Bates. No. Hertzberg. Huff. No. Lada. Leno. Nielsen.
Ayes 24, noes 12. Measure passes.
All right, colleagues, moving along to file item 132, Senator Mendoza. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 599 by Senator Mendoza, an act relating to employment.
Senator Mendoza.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm here to present SB 599. It's a straightforward bill that will support the state's continued economic recovery. SB 599 extends an already existing 10% bid preference to the state of California for public transit contracts. This bid preference rewards contractors who bid to take over a public transit service contract if they voluntarily retain the employees of the prior contractor. This prevents employees from losing their jobs and benefits during high rates of turnover while providing the bidding contractor with a competitive advantage. This bid preference has been in effect since 2003. However, current law only applies to local government. SB 599 aims to remedy this oversight by extending the transit employee retention bid preference to contracts entered into by the state. SB 599 will not only protect employee jobs, it will also protect good contractors from those that seek to bid based on cross-cutting measures. This bill has no opposition. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. I'm sorry, Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in opposition to SB 599, and I appreciate the author's intent to keep employees employed during a transition period. Great for employees, but not good for the taxpayers of the state of California. This could be tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in the public treasury that we're supposed to be standing here to protect. So I stand and rise in opposition and urge your no vote.
Thank you, Senator Stone. Any further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Mendoza, you may close.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate my Vice Chair's comments. This is obviously a necessary measure. There was a recent case where there was a transition in the companies, and they actually laid off a lot of the employees that were there for many years. So it's a necessary measure, and respectfully ask for your aye vote.
All debate having ceased, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. No. Block. Aye. Canella. No. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Galgioni. I. Glazer. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Wesso. Huff. No. Jackson. I. Lada. Leno. Leba. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. Monning. I. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. No. Stone. Vidak. No. Wykowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Glazer. Hueso. Lada. Leno. Mitchell. Nielsen. Stone. No.
Ayes 21, noes 13. The measure passes. Colleagues, we're going to go back now to file item 128 by Senator Pan. Pass on file. File item 129. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 574 by Senator Pan, an act relating to post-secondary education.
Senator Pan.
SB 574 is a measure that will bring transparency and accountability to UC investments made in private companies by disclosing information that UC promised the California legislature that they would disclose. Back in 2005, the UC promised to the legislature under SB 439 by Senator Simitian that UC would disclose fund-by-fund performance for its venture capital investments. That bill was carefully crafted to preserve the public's right to know about the performance of public investments and also to enable public pension funds to continue investing in alternative investments. UC itself recognized in 2005 that a fund-by-fund disclosure of performance information would not jeopardize its ability to invest in venture capital funds. However, the UC still did not disclose the requested information, even though the University of California did receive information from private equity firms it invested in prior to 2003. This deliberate refusal to obtain these reports allows the UC to shirk its fiduciary responsibility to provide this valuable information to the public. In 2013, the California Court of Appeals ruled that the UC Regents is allowed to refrain from obtaining investment reports from the two largest venture capital partners with whom UC invests, Kleiner Perkins and Sequoia Capital. The apparent reason for refusing to acquire these reports is the UC cannot produce information pursuant to a California Public Records Act request that it does not possess. This is a manipulation of the CRPA and goes against the public interest. To date, UC has invested over $239 million in 10 Kleiner Perkins, Caulfield and Byers, and Sequoia Capital funds. In total, UC invests about $1.4 billion in private equity firms, which represents about 2% of the total UC investment portfolio. These investments help pay for employee pensions, student scholarships, research projects, and other important university operations. The UC's continued lack of transparency in these two particular investments, Kleiner Perkins and Sequoia Capital, is irresponsible to those whose livelihood, academic pursuits, and lives it affects. SB 574 would close the UC investment disclosure loophole that has allowed the UC Regents to forego their responsibility to be transparent by requiring the UC Regents to disclose to the public the performance of investments made with any private company. I appreciate your aye vote. Thank you.
Debate or discussion? Is there any debate or discussion on this item? Senator Morlock.
Thank you, Madam President. Maybe a question for the author.
Would you accept it without objection?
Thank you, Madam President. I just had a quick question. Are we requiring CalPERS and CalSTRS to do the same type of disclosure for alternative investment?
CalPERS and CalSTRS, I believe, have the similar requirements and actually do disclose fund-by-fund investment returns.
And are they investing in Sequoia and the other funds that you mentioned?
They do invest in private equity firms, and they do disclose those performance results.
So I guess what I'm concerned about, colleagues, is having served on a pension board for a dozen years, is some of these alternative investments have proprietary concerns that you don't want to disclose. So I don't want to jeopardize the investment opportunities that UC system has, and I certainly don't want to put them under the different restrictions than we're putting on CalPERS or CalSTRS. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Morlock. Any further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Pan, you may close.
Yes, I would just clarify that These are the same standards we expect of our other, of CalSTRS and CalPERS. In fact, UC testified in the committee hearing. They actually testified that some of these funds had the best returns. That, to me, would imply they actually have the return information. That's all we're asking them to provide, a fund-by-fund return information, because these are public funds. I respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
All debate having ceased, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Cannella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Galgioni. Aye. Glazer. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Hill. Aye. Wisso. Aye. Huff. Jackson. Jackson. Aye. Lotta. Leno. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Marvell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Allen. Berryhill. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hertzberg. Huff. Aye. Lotta. Leno. Mitchell. Morlock. Aye. Nielsen. Stone. Aye.
Ayes 34, no 0. The measure passes. File item 130, Senator Hernandez. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 586 by Senator Hernandez, an act relating to children's services.
Senator Hernandez.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, created in 1927, the CCS program provides diagnosis, treatment, and medical care management for 180,000 children with special health care needs who are enrolled in Medi-Cal, are low income, or have catastrophic medical conditions. These are the sickest of the sickest kids and the poorest. At the end of 2015, the current CCS carve-out will sunset, and the administration has said that they will not approve another one unless it is accompanied by a plan for a more organized delivery system. Now, keep in mind, this has always been extended, but the administration has made it very clear that they are not going to continue to do so. This bill would allow CCS providers to form systems to integrate primary care with specialty care and treat the whole child, not just the CCS eligible condition. Specifically, the bill creates regional kids integrated delivery systems anchored by the CCS tertiary hospital or by a CCS provider in a partnership with a CCS tertiary hospital. Under this bill, these kids networks would provide a patient and family-centered health home for children with their eligibility conditions. As transitioned, the CCS carve-out would be extended until 2018 and maintained subsequently for populations that cannot access the kids network or for whom inclusion in such network is not appropriate. I respectfully ask for an aye vote, Mr. Chair, Madam President, and members.
Thank you. Debate or discussion, Senator Pan.
Thank you, Madam President, members. I want to thank Senator Hernandez for carrying this bill. As he mentioned, CCS is obviously a very important program for some of our most vulnerable children. I know that many of the stakeholders are still having discussions about how to move CCS forward. As the author of the last carve-out extension, I know that we need to try to reach, a more integrated system that will help improve the quality of the CCS program and ensure access for children. So I stand here in support of the bill, but I also recognize that there's still ongoing discussions with various stakeholders, and certainly would want to see how those turn out before we make a final decision in the future. But we need this bill as a vehicle for this discussion, and I especially ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pan. Further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Hernandez, you may close.
Thank you. Yes, there are further discussions, but the reason why I feel this bill is important because I believe the Senate needs to be part of that discussion. The administration still doesn't know what they want or what they're going to be doing with regard to these individuals or these patients, but I think we have to be part of that discussion. But keep in mind that these are the most vulnerable children, and the absolute highest priority is to make sure that they get access to care that they need for these conditions, and these are the systems like children's hospitals that are doing God's work to be able to see these patients. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
All debate having ceased, Mr. Secretary, I'm sorry, is there any objection to substituting a unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 37, no 0, the measure passes. We are going to move over now to file item 133. 133, Senator Pan. Mr. Secretary, please read.